It's the rule of nerds.
And this is our review of Deadpool 2.
Here we go.
All right, so before we start, this is a full spoiler review. So if you don't want to hear anything about, certain plot points, certain cameos, certain secrets about to be revealed, you might want to watch the movie first and then watch this, review.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to help ourselves.
Nope.
We are going to talk about everything because some of them are really interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so, a lot of attention has been brewing with Deadpool 2. After the success of Deadpool, the first one, the question is, how will the sequel do?
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Let's start with the comedy.
Okay. Okay.
Deadpool, this franchise is well known for its comedy.
yes.
Probably the funniest. Well, I mean, some other Marvel movies might want to debate that, but this is obviously one of the funniest of all the superhero
Or
movies
maybe
out there.
comedic.
Yeah, comedic.
More than funny, it's comedic.
Now, what I would
think.
say about Deadpool 2 is the comedy is there.
Yes.
It's not going to be Deadpool if it's not irreverent and
Right.
funny. And this one has that in spades. It's definitely enjoyable. You step into the theater, you're assured of like 2 hours or however long it is
Yeah.
of a good time. You're gonna be shown a good time. However, what the caveat I will put in there was, in the first Deadpool movie, it actually enjoyed the element of surprise.
Okay.
I can't believe they were allowed to say this
Yeah.
factor. And obviously, as a sequel, this one didn't have that. So we knew what to expect from this one. This one is funny. Obviously, they changed directors, but it's the same writers who wrote this. But while it was funny, I just feel like the comedy from the first movie landed a little harder just because we couldn't believe they were actually saying what they
Right.
were saying.
I love that you said that.
Mhm.
Because my take on it is a bit of the opposite.
Okay.
Like for me, I loved Deadpool, the first movie,
Uh-huh.
more as a cultural revelation more
Mhm.
than a film.
Okay.
As a film, I really felt like it was more of a collection of quips.
Okay.
To me, the story was quite thin. It practically didn't have a plot. But then I'm thinking, I feel the same way about Deadpool comics.
Yes.
So
yes.
it should be, it
It's
should
very
be
true
something.
to source material.
It's true
Yeah.
to the source material. Don't expect anything serious.
Uh-huh,
Don't expect
uh-huh.
some wonderful Chris Claremont
Yeah.
kind of plot, and characterization. This is Deadpool we're talking about.
Yes.
But to me, I love what Deadpool stood for. I love what it did. I love what it did for superhero movies.
Uh-huh.
I love what it did for the X-Men franchise.
Uh-huh.
I love what it did for Ryan Reynolds.
Uh-huh.
But as a film,
Okay.
it was okay.
Okay.
I wasn't like
That's fair.
over
Yeah.
the moon. But what I will say is I super love Deadpool 2.
Okay.
For me, I didn't feel like it was a collection of quips. For once, I actually cared about the plot.
Yeah.
I loved the characters. For the first time, I was actually rooting for Deadpool,
Okay.
the character, more than just enjoying the jokes
Yeah.
and enjoying the cultural references and the Easter eggs.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, as compared to the first one, I was more invested in what was happening in the story, what was happening to the bad guys, the good guys, what
Mhm.
Deadpool was trying to do.
Yeah.
So for me, it worked much better in the comedy, in terms of characterization.
Yeah.
It made you laugh, but at the same time, it still made you feel for the characters.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I think to piggyback on that, Deadpool 1 felt a lot more like Deadpool's movie.
Yes.
And that's what you expect from a
Yes.
movie that's all about Deadpool.
Right.
And this one, because there were other characters in there, he was like, it's like a shared movie,
Yeah.
but with a lot of Deadpool in it.
Just to add a little bit, if I don't know if you got to watch our review of Lego Batman, but it reminded me of what I went through with Lego Batman.
Okay.
I felt like my fear for Deadpool 2 was what I felt, at least in my opinion, happened to Lego Batman, where you had the Lego story, which was hugely popular. And then I feel like they overdid it
Yeah.
to the point that when I watched Lego Batman, I felt tired
Mm.
instead of entertained.
Yeah.
So my fear was, okay, how do you top something as irreverent, as funny, as cultural referential as Deadpool? They might overdo it, but in my opinion, it was perfect pitch. I
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
found myself laughing more
Hmm.
and enjoying it more than just as like the fourth wall kind of thing. But as a joke, I actually found myself laughing more, enjoying it more.
Yeah. Now, another thing that might have been some cause of concern.
Okay.
They changed directors between the two movies.
Yes.
The first one with Tim Miller. Obviously, we've all heard the creative differences and
Mhm.
all that led to them tapping David Leitch.
Okay.
David Leitch, one of the directors of John Wick. One of the guys they tapped to be second unit directors for the action sequences in Civil War.
Which, by the way,
Yeah.
the John Wick reference was
Yeah.
part of the
Oh,
opening
yeah,
credits.
yeah, they mentioned that.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, so obviously, this guy is known for his action,
Yes.
his action directing, and I'm curious to hear what you think of the action sequence. I'm gonna share mine first. I think there were a lot to enjoy about the action sequences. In the opening action montage, I think was
Mhm.
was terrific. The part where there's this one guy just running towards the camera, and then everything that Deadpool is doing is in the background.
Mhm.
But if you're paying attention to the background, it's actually pretty amazing about what everything was doing there.
It was actually very, when you think about it, it's very, childish Gambino. Since
Yeah,
everyone's
yeah.
talking about it,
Yeah.
like things are happening in the background, something's
Mhm.
happening in the foreground, but you have to pay attention to both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of Childish Gambino, his co-star on Atlanta, Zazie Beetz.
Yes.
She also has this pretty amazing action sequence
Mhm.
as Domino.
Yeah.
They were discussing how her powers,
Yes.
which is basically just being lucky,
Genius scene.
might not be cinematic, but
Mhm.
man, did she prove everybody wrong? Well, at least
it
the
was-
characters there.
It was probably in a weird way, it stole the show
Yeah,
in terms of action sequences because it wasn't just pure action.
Mhm.
There was the script that they were talking about it,
Yes.
but at the same time they were showing you just how lucky she was for
Yeah.
people who are not familiar with Domino.
Yeah.
And how like they were on one hand they were like trying to make fun of the power.
Right,
How can
right.
be lucky?
Right.
Being lucky be your power,
Yes.
but at the same time showing you how potent something like that could be. It's actually like the polar opposite of Black Cat's power,
Yeah, yeah.
where instead of being lucky, her opponent will be unlucky.
Yeah.
In Domino's case, she will be very lucky. So it's very nice seeing that little wink wink
Yeah. Yeah.
at how sometimes, let's face it, comic book powers, superpowers are actually silly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, another thing that was very, very true to the franchise was the soundtrack. This one has a very memorable soundtrack. The first one had one too. This one very different.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yes. I just felt that it's not as gimmicky.
Mhm.
I just felt that it wasn't as how like with the first one, choosing like Shoop,
Yeah.
and
X
it-
gonna give it to you.
it was very cool.
yeah.
Here, it was like they were choosing the songs more because they're the best for it, not necessarily
Yeah.
because it was cool or it
Yeah.
was funny.
Yeah.
Like it was a legit for me soundtrack.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was really legit.
And it's funny how you would not associate these songs with
Yes.
Deadpool. There's songs from Air Supply,
Right.
Enya,
Actually,
a lot
that-
of musicals, Yentl.
Actually, that would have been the most obvious
yeah.
to choose an Air Supply. That
Right.
would have been very Deadpool one.
Oh, well, yes.
But the others are really like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised they used that.
A lot of musicals.
And
yeah. Funny.
a lot of wink winks. Like for
Right.
example, I'm biased because I love the acoustic version of Aha's Take
Uh-huh.
on Me.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just choosing that song. It was
Yeah.
a visual nod to the video
Right.
where Morton Harkett, the lead singer of Aha,
Uh-huh.
was actually falling in love with a drawing.
Yeah.
And they
yeah.
were separated by the piece of paper.
Yeah.
And there was this one scene where the drawing, Morton Harkett becomes a drawing
Uh-huh,
and jumps
uh-huh.
into the photo. And that whole like meeting of the hands was basically what was happening to Deadpool and
Yeah.
his loved one. So
Yeah.
it was actually
So just a great
it wasn't-
synergy. Yeah.
it
great-
wasn't random.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a big wink wink to the people who were familiar with the video
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the original song.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the things that we did like from the movie.
Yes.
Were there any things that you didn't?
There were very few that I didn't
Uh-huh.
that I didn't like. For me, can we just like maybe you should take this.
Okay.
Do you have what you don't like? Because I have some other things that I would like to add later on.
Okay. I think the one thing that stands out the most to me is it just uh didn't feel as unpredictable as the first movie.
Okay.
I would say that with the first movie, it really kept you guessing. It kept you like reacting, like, "Oh, I
Yes.
can't believe this happened. I can't believe they said that." With this one, maybe it's a little bit because you know what to expect from the tone and all that, but also a little bit. There were a lot of like tropes in there.
That's true though.
For a franchise that you expect to be very subversive of these kinds of tropes, they actually lean on them a little bit.
Yeah, and a lot of repeat gags.
Yes,
Like
yes.
small hands this time
Right.
around, small feet.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I would say except for one moment in particular, and I think you'll know what I'm talking about. That I never felt surprised by anything about this movie except for that one scene involving the new X Force,
yeah.
which is probably the most surprising thing in the whole movie. But yeah, except for that one scene, I think like a lot of things I kind of predicted where it was going.
That's yeah. Okay.
A little bit, yeah.
A little
But if that's the worst you can say about it, then I think it did the job pretty well.
Okay, so I'm a little bit more stumped when it comes to what I didn't like because,
Okay.
like I said, I don't know. Maybe it was a good movie watching day, but I really loved it from beginning to end. I have very little negative to say about the
Mhm.
movie, and what if ever there were a little quip that's true though. But I think it's more of, for me, it's a general weakness of the character itself
Uh-huh.
because it can't really lend itself to
Yeah.
being to taking itself too seriously
Yeah, yeah.
because it is Deadpool. And even when you read the comic book, it's a little exhausting
Mhm.
because it's always like a nonstop slew of, cultural references,
Okay.
jokes, and gags. So there's only so much that you can do.
Yeah.
But I just like that how it is more of like an ensemble cast now.
Uh-huh.
You have, of course, Cable,
Uh-huh.
the biggest addition
Yes,
of all.
yes.
And does anyone have a better life than Josh Brolin?
Right now,
being Thanos
no.
and also Cable being major characters in two cinematic universes.
Yep, yep.
And of course, Domino is a great addition to the cast.
Yes.
If Negasonic was sort of like the girl in the past movie, in the
Yeah.
first movie, she took a backseat.
Yes.
And then now it's
Yeah.
really Domino,
Yeah.
and she ran away with it.
Yeah.
And I loved how the new characters came out. And we'll talk about, X Force later, maybe when we're talking about the Easter
Yeah,
eggs.
yeah. Speaking of that, one last point I like to make is while I'm not gonna argue with anybody who thinks that Deadpool 2 may be a better movie experience than Deadpool 1.
That's me.
I would have to say it just didn't feel as groundbreaking as Deadpool 1 did.
I agree too.
I think that's the only criticism that I can level at this
I can
movie.
actually, say that I liked Deadpool 2 better. I think
Uh-huh.
it's a superior movie / experience, but agree as well that it
Mhm.
wasn't as groundbreaking.
Uh,
Mainly because it's a
yeah.
sequel.
yeah. Do you have any other things to say before we move on to Easter eggs?
I think the stuff that I would add to it would be while we're discussing the Easter eggs.
Okay, then
let's jump into
with
it.
that, let's go into it. First one, obviously, just the quick cameo, the X-Men. How do you feel about this being the exact same X-Mansion with the real X-Men? We've always had this feeling that okay, the Deadpool universe may be slightly separate
Yeah.
from the main X-Men line.
Yes.
They blew that out of the water here. We actually see James McAvoy as Charles Xavier, Nicholas Hoult, Ty Sheridan.
It was seconds, just seconds, but it was pure cinematic geek bliss.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
no nothing. It was blink and you miss it.
Yeah.
At first I was like, it's this gag again. You
Yeah.
have Deadpool and Professor X's wheelchair.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then, doing it again. The
Yeah,
whole,
yeah.
can't the studio give us a break? Can't we have some major X-Men? And just when you're like, you know what? Been there, done that.
Yeah.
They just blow the door open and you're like, wow.
And this is literally
Whoa.
there's literally
Whoa.
an open door in the
Yes.
background where you see them, and it's amazing.
That was
It's
amazing.
a bold move.
Yes.
Basically, them confirming that yes, this is the same
It's
universe.
the same universe.
Yeah.
And let's we've gotten to the X-Men. Let's move into the X-Force.
The X Force, of course.
This was so exciting for me because I was like, are they really going to do X-Force?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
of course, most major of all is Domino and Shatterstar.
Yeah.
Shatterstar specifically was very exciting for me because they
Yeah.
did the comic book version.
Yes.
You know, red hair,
Mhm.
that boxing helmet thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the star in the eye. I mean, it was like, this is out of the comic books.
Yes,
And I was
yes.
so excited. And then you had a bit of, some peripheral characters like
Yeah.
Zeitgeist and
Bedlam.
the Vanisher.
Vanisher.
Of course, it was a big
Peter, of course.
a big wink wink on the Vanisher because he's not actually invisible.
Yes,
He's
yes.
a teleporter in the comic books, but here's like literally the Vanisher.
The Vanisher. Yeah.
So it's just funny how just when you thought they were going to have a team,
yes.
they don't.
Yeah,
it was
this is
just that.
the big spoiler here.
Yeah, it was
we
just
did say
that.
this was gonna be a spoiler movie.
But that was hilarious.
Let's just go out
Genius.
and say it straight up. These guys die
Immediately.
They don't do anything relevant at all. These
They
guys
haven't
just
even
die.
they were parachuting to the ground and didn't even make it to the ground.
Yeah.
Some did, but most of them died on their way down. It was hilarious.
And the really
Hilarious.
interesting thing here is how they kind of throw you off because of the casting.
Yeah.
You actually think that some of these guys might survive to become real members of a future X-Force movie.
Yeah.
I mean, they got people like Terry Crews to
Yes.
play Bedlam. Zeitgeist was played by Bill Skarsgård,
Yeah.
the guy who plays the Pennywise
Yeah.
in It. And you will be really surprised to find out who the Vanisher actually was.
Who was it?
You did not see?
No.
It was Brad Pitt.
Oh yeah, right.
It was
right.
Brad Pitt.
Yes.
So,
Split second.
The big
Split second.
the big gag there
Yeah,
was
right,
you
right.
never actually see
Yeah.
who Vanisher was until
Until-
before he dies.
when he hit
That's
yeah.
the only time he becomes visible, and it's freaking Brad Pitt. It's a crazy how they
really
did the
is.
casting for this
Right,
one,
right.
and then how they treated the characters as throwaway as they were. If we're gonna do it, if we are going to have an X-Force movie in the future, we might see Cable, we might see Deadpool, we might see Domino, but none of these other characters you see in the trailer, none of them are
Well,
gonna be
with the
there.
exception of Shatterstar, who was part of the first group,
Yeah.
the debut X-Force. The others really were like, you could do away with them. So I was surprised that they killed him off. I was a little sad.
Yeah,
I was hoping
yeah.
to see some action from Shatterstar. Maybe some like sword wielding
Yeah,
and all that,
yeah.
but
They don't even give him the chance.
didn't give them the chance.
Okay, now another interesting cameo here. This was something that a lot of people guessed at while watching the
Mhm.
trailers.
Yeah.
But it's the big the big guy, the big opponent they have near the end.
Yeah.
It is the Juggernaut.
Actually, if you were paying attention, you would have kind of like guessed because
Yeah.
of the clue
Yeah.
of Black Tom.
Yeah.
Because Black Tom Cassidy,
Yeah.
the evil cousin of Banshee,
Yeah.
has always been like the tag team
Yeah.
of Juggernaut.
Yeah.
And since they keep mentioning his name over and over, Black Tom, at least 2 or 3 times
Mhm.
before they reveal Juggernaut, you kind of know that it's him. And with all the thudding, thunderous sounds, you kind of know that it's somebody who's probably hitting the doors.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you kind of guess that it is Juggernaut.
This is less of an Easter egg and really more of fan service.
Yes.
Because they have Juggernaut go head to head against Colossus. Juggernaut and if you are an X-Men fan, this was something you've wanted to see for a long time.
I mean,
the big powerhouses going head to head. Amazing fight scene
and
there.
usually, even when it comes to the collectibles, the best statues are the ones that have Colossus and Juggernaut,
Yep.
Going at it. And another Easter egg is, the whole teasing
Mhm.
of Colossus as gay
Yes.
is actually a nod to the ultimate version
Yes.
of Colossus. It's not the main universe. It's
Mhm.
not the Earth 616 version.
Yeah.
In the Ultimate Comics, in the Ultimate Universe, which is a separate universe altogether, Colossus is actually gay.
Yeah.
And, he gets into a relationship with North Star, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But, this whole teasing, there's even this part where, Deadpool jokes to his wife, don't have sex with Elvis.
Yeah.
And then she says, well, just don't have sex with Colossus.
Colossus.
And then, how Colossus beats King Marco, Juggernaut.
Yeah.
there were a lot of gay references,
Yeah.
and a lot of that, I believe, was a little wink, wink to
Yes.
the ultimate version of Colossus,
Right.
which is, done with. Because right now in the main universe, in the main comic universe, the big event in the Marvel comics is the wedding of, Peter Rasputin and Kitty Pryde.
Yeah.
So they are getting married. So he is very straight in
Yeah.
the main universe, but not so in the Ultimate Comics. And there is a lot of hint in this one that maybe he's not so straight.
Yeah. Oh, another Easter egg. This time comes in a joke, in the form of a joke that maybe flew over the head of a lot of people in the theaters.
Okay.
Very few people. I might have been the only one in my showing. I caught a really early showing who laughed out loud at that. The one where they were talking about Domino's powers being lazy writing,
Yeah.
and it must have been written by someone who can't draw feet.
Oh,
A very specific joke
very
there.
reference.
Yeah. You, if you're a comic book fan, you
fan.
know that it refers to, of course, Deadpool and Domino creator
Yes.
Rob Liefeld.
Who supposedly can't draw feet.
Yeah,
And
he
his-
purposely draws things in front of the characters just so he doesn't have to draw the feet. That's how the story goes.
And his his characters always feel like their ribs have been
Yes.
dislocated,
Yeah.
or their body positions are very unnatural.
Yes.
A lot of people throw jabs at
Yes.
Rob Liefeld.
Yeah, he's
And-
kind of a divisive
Very
comic
much,
book creator.
very much. And another for me, it's not really an Easter egg. For all I know, it's purely accidental.
Uh-huh.
But there's this little connection there.
Mhm.
I kind of like lulled when they showed, and they kept going back to Papa, Can You Hear Me?
Yeah.
From Yentl,
Yeah.
who was starred in and directed by Barbara Streisand,
Yes.
whose husband is James Brolin, who is the father of Josh Brolin. Yeah, it's
Yes.
a bit of a stretch, but I just can't not notice that they're, technically that's his mom.
Yeah.
His stepmom.
Yes.
Because,
Yeah. And they
she
are.
is the wife.
They aren't shy with references like that.
Yeah.
At one point, Ryan Reynolds just calls him Thanos, right?
Yes.
So most of these jokes are probably on purpose.
Yes.
These are not accidents. And probably the last Easter egg that we have to talk about, obviously the end
And
credits.
to cap off the review, because this
Yeah.
just blew me
Yeah, yeah.
away, I think, more than any MCU
Yeah.
end credits.
It's the crazy end credits
it
sequence.
is
Yeah.
crazy.
So basically, to recap what happens, we all know that Cable is a time traveler.
Yes.
So Deadpool gets a hold of the time traveling device, and he starts going into the past to eliminate some, just clean up some. He says to clean up the timeline a
The
little.
timeline.
And part of some of the characters that he actually cleans up is himself in
Yes.
X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah.
If you are one of the fans who really disliked how Deadpool was treated there in that movie.
I mean, how can you be Deadpool, the merc with a mouth,
Yeah.
without a mouth?
Yes. He actually shows up in that scene, some archival footage there,
Mhm.
which of course features Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
This has been a recurring joke
I
in all of the
know.
Deadpool things is Hugh Jackman. They actually have archival footage of X-Men Origins Wolverine, and he just steps into the scene and just shoots himself.
Yes.
And it's, that's a funny scene. Another person he kills is again himself.
Himself.
Deadpool actually kills Ryan Reynolds while he holds a script of Green Lantern.
Yes.
So
For me, it's a very Deadpool in general is very gag laden.
yes.
There are a lot of gags, and if you didn't watch the movie but you're watching this review, you might think it's just another gag.
Yep.
But for me, it's nothing short of genius.
Yeah.
It's almost like the ultimate gag. I
Yes.
don't know if they can even come near it.
Mhm.
At the start of the movie, there's this Wolverine statue. They're talking about Logan, the movie, not
Yes.
the character, specifically the movie.
The movie.
And Deadpool says, "You know what? Damn you, Logan, you
Logan.
died, and how do I top that?" Well, guess what? I'm going to die too.
Yeah.
Now, technically, he does, but obviously, just like in most superhero
Yeah.
movies, he comes back to life. But
Yeah.
I think there is also that very meta,
Yeah.
meaning to it, because at the end he does die.
Yeah.
The bad version of Deadpool and memories of Green Lantern. And I think for me, it's the best way to cap off the movie, because even if, let's say, there is no Deadpool 3, which is impossible, it's a great way to cap it off. And I love how Deadpool killing Deadpool Origins and Ryan Reynolds is Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool writers saying, you know what? We've done this gag so many times. It's time to put it to rest. And let's put it to rest in a very big way. You know, it's a sight gag. Technically, it's a cameo. And you know, and now you don't wonder anymore why Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds have been posting each other on Instagram and social media. So I think for me, it's very cathartic. It's very symbolic. It's like, this movie is so good. You gotta forgive me for the past two, you know, sins that I've had. First Deadpool and Green Lantern. Let me be the one to kill them. I've already done my penance. Let's all move on.
And with that, I think we can wrap up our review too. The same as neatly as they wrapped up their story. Let's wrap up ours.
All right. So what about you? What did you think? Did you like it? What did you like? What didn't you like? Tell us all about it in the comment section down below. And tell us if we missed some Easter eggs. Because, you know,
there were a lot in there. I mean, if we went to each and every one of them, we probably would. It can be its own video.
But tell us all about it. And of course, we would love it if you could subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is The Rule of Nerds. And check out our social media accounts. It's also The Rule of Nerds on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Now, for our personal accounts, you can check me out, Chico Garcia, over on Twitter and Instagram.
You can follow me at M_Volante on Twitter, JM_Volante on Instagram.
Nerds out!
Here we go.